Well, here I go. Finally gonna get back at it. First off, if you hadn't checked it out, if you don't know, we're giving away a set of boat plans to be able to build a boat just like this. There's lots of other models. There's all kind of information available. You can go to saltboatworks.com. It's any of the FRS, the Flash River Skiff series. You can go check it out there. But there's also a link right up here. You have to go to this link, follow the directions. Everything's on there. There's some rules. There's some stuff you need to do. Make sure you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, you need to be a subscriber to enter the contest. Also, you can check out this build from the very start, from where I first started tracing this boat out on patterns, on plywood from patterns and whatnot. So it's been a while since I've been on the boat. I finished the bottom, painted it off, faired it. I learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes. So there's, not saying that this is the right way to do it, but just you'll see my journey and how I've done it. But so right now, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and cut out all the pieces for the deck so that I can have those in place, like when I go to fair the sides and trim it down, like you'll see here on the shear bumpers, where that will all be flush with the top of these bulkheads here. So before I do that, and I'm slinging sawdust and stuff everywhere, I want to be able to have a foundation to stand on in here, because you can see it's kind of hard to walk around. So Adam does a great video here. I'm gonna probably show some clips of it. You can go check it out. I put a link up where you can go see where he explains it. But I'm gonna follow that same principle. We're gonna work off the center line every 18 inches side to side, and then multiple places to get the length off the center line. You'll see all that. So basically what I've done is I've taken the boat and broken it up into sections. This is the front little section, the middle. This will be the cockpit, and you'll see all of these where it has 3 pieces in the back. And I went ahead and just kind of gridded it out how I'm gonna do my measurements, so that when I get in here and get it all set up, I've kind of already got my platform. I made a copy of the plan so I know that which pieces go where. This is the F series of the cutout, so it's F1, F2, F3, all, from stern to bow. So the one little trickier part about what Adam does in his video is that this series has a 3-piece center as opposed to a single piece. So I'm going to get the center one installed properly, where it shares the stringers here. Hopefully that works out like that. If not, it's no big deal. And then I'm going to do the sides off of that one. So I got a little bit of figuring out to do to get to that one, but that's what I'm going to be working on here. Hopefully we'll get, I'm going to start getting this stuff done. I feel like I want to have the floor all done, but so as I cut my holes for my chases and all, everything will be right where it needs to go, so I can lay it all out and look at it in place. Because I think I know how I want it done. I've done the video on the computer. Like I said, I built the model. Pardon the noise, it is extremely windy today and it's cold. It's late February, so kind of expected. So we're going to get back on and start working on it, and hopefully we'll get this thing done before long. So here we go. What I'm talking about is, if you go to Adam's link, like I put up earlier, you pull a string down the center line, and you'll see me do that here at the beginning. But I actually don't do it at any point beyond this, because as I went through this process, I realized that my center stringer actually gives me that center reference point. I think this model is a little bit different in that regard, so I just went off the center grain of the plywood, and it worked out fine. So you basically run your line down the center, and then you measure off each side. That's what you see me doing there. I talked a little bit about that with my little grid. So I pulled all those measurements, and I probably mentioned this somewhere else, but it's very fulfilling that as you go through this, there was never more than 1/8 of an inch off the center line from one side to the other. So, first time building a boat, whatever, but putting this thing together basically from a cradle grid, not having any idea what's coming down the road and how it's finished and all the other stuff. It really did finish up pretty doggone square. I would have lost money if I'd have bet that. So it's very square, front to back and side to side, basically through all the compartments. So that's something I was very happy with. And you can see here, I'm measuring front to back to make sure the length, but all of those, like even from the pattern, I didn't have to cut anything off the length, and I'm going to show you here in a little while, off the width, the patterns, the efficient use of the plywood. There's maybe a 1/4 inch that comes off the edges, like here in this cockpit where those pieces go down the side. So that is just amazing that he's designed a set of plans that'll work like that. So this piece here, this will actually be where the live well, the live release well, and the little mechanical well where the fuel filter, maybe the power pole, if we ever get to that, a hydraulic pump and all that stuff. So it'll be like a little mechanical, I don't know, hatch or whatever, a little compartment just for that. So it was very unique to see this and actually see the space that it's going to be. And they won't be really big, but it's going to be perfectly functional for what we're looking to do, to have as an option. And that's all I'm trying to do here, is to develop options and looking at it. There's these 3 motor wells. Now I made a change, and I'm going to talk about that I think in the next video. But like in this center motor well, I raised up the lid for that, which will be the the floor or the top of it. I actually raised it up so that I'd have more room to handle pumps and bilge pumps and recirculation pumps and raw water pumps and bulkhead fittings and all the other stuff. So it's hard to tell from this angle, but that motor well center, it's actually higher and slanted so that the water will drain back out through ports that we'll put in there as we go down the road. Alright, so this one's going to be a little bit different because of the way this section goes here. I'm going to really take my time with this one because I know that those edges are already cut to make up for that. So I think I'm going to go get them and lay them in here. And what I may do is actually cut the center line off of each of them and pair them up, get them on the side and then cut to the center from where they are. But I want to make sure that those edges fit in here real good. If not, I want to make sure I have that because I think I can make that work somehow. Make a pattern. I have a bunch of old little 1/4 inch or 5mm underlayment that I can lay in here, and I think I can pattern that. So this one I'm gonna just take my measurements and see how it works so that I have them. But then I'm gonna come back and I'm going to fit a side in here and see how it lays, because I'm hoping that it'll fit along the side and just hangs over here, and I'll just be able to, actually be able to put it in here and mark it. Take that one, move it, put this side, mark it, and cut them. And I'm okay if there's a little bit of a gap here or a little bit of a gap there. That's what thick and epoxy is made for, but that's what you're going to see me doing. It's kind of a theme with this weekend, is these things that I've been dreading. Like I've been dreading trying to fit the floor pieces in this section, because when you see them, they're all kind of cattywampus, and it's, when you're used to dealing with plumb level and square, this is anything but plumb level and square. So I'm right here I'm trying to measure it and create the intervals, and once you understand the concept of how you pull your center line and then you measure off, and here I started to do 6-inch intervals, and it just it wasn't enough. So I just wound up going and getting them, and you can see like that's cut straight off the pattern, and I'm trying to fit that in there and see how it's going to fit. And I mean, I'll look at it and it's all kind of crazy, but here I just tried maybe another piece will fit better. So I'm gonna explain it right here in just a second. It's going to be true. Yeah, so it's hanging way over there. Let's open it. see. So when I said it was hanging over there, what I meant is that it's hanging over the center line. So each piece was wider than it needed to be. So what I did is I found center and marked each end. Then I put each piece down and referenced it off the side of the hull and let it overlap the center, and I made my marks on each side, and then I went back in there and cut them. And you can see here, like, it splits that board right in half. This here is about fighting the biggest frog first. I'm so worried about this. I'm gonna go ahead and get this part over with, and it should be, you know, the rest of them should be pretty straightforward. I got that piece there pretty close. Turn my radio down a bit. I feel like this right here. Both of them. Take a pretty good little swath at this one. But that'll obviously, I mean, I know it looks terrible, but once you take and feel that with thickened epoxy, it's just gonna hold it. It's gonna hold it well. See, it's got all the bracing and all that stuff up underneath it, so should be good. But now another thing I got to figure out is especially before I put this one in, is to figure out my fuel tank situation, whether I'm gonna put it here, whether I'm gonna just reconfigure everything and put it underneath the console and put batteries up here. There's an argument for that, but I'm not quite ready to go that direction yet, so we're gonna see. And on this side too, it still feels like, I know that all of this is supposed to be the pump. The only reason that is hitting right there is this corner right here. So I'm going to actually cut this one back a little bit and just keep whittling away at it. I don't want to take too big of a chunk off of it, but I am going to take a little bit off of this point now. No, I'm just going to take another bite, another like half an inch right there. And see what that does. Same with that one. I'm gonna go over there and square that one up a little bit. But yeah, this will give you a little idea of how slow sometimes things work. So you can see that little bitty triangular piece. Trying to get the measurements and all to cut and fit it. Yeah. Took about 4 minutes to do that. You're watching on time lapse, so it doesn't seem like that long. But okay, here's where I'm going to cut out the center deck, and I was talking about the fact that this is 3 pieces, but that center piece right there is exactly 2 foot wide, and it's exactly the length that it has to be. So all I had to do, what I'm doing here is I'm measuring 12 inches off the side. I use my little rip board that's a true straight edge. It's just a piece of plywood that has a factory edge on it. So I set it as a reference to mark the center line, and then I've got something solid to measure against. I just clamp it on each end. I use that thing for all kind of, you're gonna see I use it for all kind of stuff. I'm gonna use it for planing down the shear. Here to come. But all I did is I measured off of there, all of my marks. They're 16 inches apart, so I just measured out there. And then I drove some little nails, bent that little metal thing there, made me a line, and then just took that little skill saw. Now here you see that I pull another piece of the same width of plywood and just use it to help give that skill saw a point of reference. Or it gives it a good rest so that I'm not having to try and balance the saw and do all that stuff. By having that little strip of plywood in there, it really makes it easier. Kind of just the same process here. You see me marking 16-inch intervals, and then I just pull out to the side, measure it, drive me a nail in it, and then just basically make that arc. And understand that my measurements, I wanted to be just a little bit short. I didn't want to be too long because I know that I'm going to have a fillet and thickened epoxy that's going to go in that edge. But you can see here I use that plywood again to rip off that edge, and I'm going to show you. This is how accurate the plans are to the patterns and everything. I was just very surprised that this was as efficient as it was. Here's a little trivia question for those that have been following along. This is actually the cockpit floor. So where did these marks right here come from? If anybody's been watching this, you should know. Well, not that you should know, but you may know. Be interesting to see if anybody can get it. So yep, now that I got them cut out, I'm gonna bring them over here, and you see me there with the little jigsaw. What I forgot to do is, you can see those fillets going up the walls. I forgot to kind of round over those corners. So nothing too, particular, nothing too precise about rounding those over. Once again, you're gonna have thickened epoxy with a fillet that goes all the way around the base of that wall, and that'll be uniform. So it's not exactly crucial that piece of plywood there. It's just you need to make sure you have proper clearance, because it's all kind of going to be hidden. But I do have in this corner, you'll see me fiddling with it quite a bit. There's something that's not entirely right. The floor braces that I have coming along the hull side right there, they seem to be too low. So I'm not quite sure how that happened. So what's important to me is make sure that I get the floor straight. So if I need to build those up, or I've got to give some attention there. I thought I had some epoxy. It's amazing how, like a little thimble full of epoxy, like in the shape of the head of a pin, will affect that plywood and stuff. So by and large, those 3 pieces went in there spectacular. Once I rounded the edges, I think I had some of the same problem with this one. Oh, this is where I'm having to pull out a board from the cradle. But that thing goes right in there. I mean, that's a whole piece. That's where the live well is going to be in the center. It's, it looks a lot bigger on the computer model, I can tell you that area, but it's and it's not very tall. So we'll see how all that plays out. But I think it's going to be plenty for what we're trying to do. And we're not going to add a lot of weight just because it's just not that much volume that's going to go in there. So these back compartments, I got another little snafu you're going to see here. That piece, you can see it's, all the corners and all are kind of cattywampus. And this one, when I cut it, it was just about an inch too short front to back. I should have wrote 12 inches and I only wrote 11 inches. So I was reading the wrong side of the measurement. It was kind of late in the day. It was cold outside, windy as you can see, and I'm tired. But I wanted to kind of leave this in. I took that piece and flipped it to the other side, showing how symmetrical and it fits perfectly. So all I did is I'm gonna go get me a piece of scrap plywood out of the pile and use that as a trace, and I'll just trace it. But I want to leave this in because I don't think you get to see much of this, and I don't know how many hours I already have in this, but I'm kind of done for the day. But I sat right here and looked, and I'm thinking about battery bases and access hatches and bilge pumps and everything else. So well, this is going to wrap up this video, but I appreciate you following along, appreciate you watching. I know I've been away a while, there's been a lot of people reached out, and I really thank you a lot for that. But don't forget, we get doing those plan giveaways. Go check the link, and we got some more videos coming. I've already got the footage done, which means I've been working, so thanks for following.